You are listening to the Life in Alignment podcast, and this is your host and coach, Naphtali Anderson. And today's episode is called Mountains of Mind. So relax your mind and enjoy the show. What's up, guys? So let's answer the first question that's probably on your mind right now. What is Mountains of Mind? What in the world is he talking about right now? So I want you to picture this, right? Your mind is like a mountain range, right? Now I'm not talking about those little bumpy stuff on your brain. I'm talking more like think of the Rocky Mountains, right? They have really high peaks and they have low valleys. And in our lives, in our mind, right? And we're talking about our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, our reactions, our perspective, right? When I talk about mind, we experience high peaks of joy and passion and excitement, but we also experience valleys of doubt, fear, and pain, etc. So today I'm going to use an example of me figuring out my purpose here on earth, which is right a small thing, not important. But for you, you don't have to get that deep with it. I want you to think though about anything that you feels important to you. Okay, anything like your relationships, your career, your health, anything, and I want you to try to relate it to this because you will be able to, because we all experience in these areas of importance is really where we have those peaks and those valleys. So for me, when I was younger, the first thing I remember wanting to be was a doctor, actually. Um, I think I just figured I liked helping people, and that's still true to this day. And that's still actually part of my purpose is helping people. And I connect with people easily, and I guess I can communicate pretty well. And all the while going through all these things, learning more about myself, learning more about what I like. I was deep into art and I got certified in animation. I thought that's where I really wanted to take my life. But even when I was doing art, it was always a focus on kind of motivational and how do I put a positive message out in the world. But there was a lot of peaks and valleys, even with that, where I doubted my skill, where honestly, I didn't put in the work that it took to be a great artist. I would dabble and I would get some high peaks, get some wins, have some freelance clients, and then I would just hit a valley and be full of doubt. Right. And so I went to college, got an engineering degree, and there was lots of positives, peaks, and then there was lots of just negatives, valleys, where I didn't want to do that anymore. That was not my passion. I thought I would like it, and I didn't. You know, but all these peaks and valleys ended up just really giving me so many different experiences in life that continued to shape me for what I believe is what I'm called to do on this earth. And that's really pouring into, the men of this world, to coach men, speak, work with mental health and dealing with our emotional IQ and how we get back into that space of leadership and power, right? Um, a lot of things that are becoming more important right now, and they should have been important a long time ago. But throughout this journey, constantly hitting these highs and lows and everything. But the thing is that everybody loves the peaks. They're great. Okay. We love to get that win. We love to feel like we are on top. We love to get that trophy. Okay. Everybody loves the peaks. The problem, quote unquote, is that the valleys can break us. They can break us if we don't step into that space with the right mindset. Okay. And if we don't carry that energy from the last peak into that valley. Okay. We have to not only expect the valley, right? Just like we expect night after day, but honestly, get to that place where we can actually be thankful for it. We can be grateful for the valley. And that's hard. That's really tough to do at times. It truly is. But we need the awareness though to make sure that we're not going through the same valley as before. Okay, if you're lost in the woods, or for this instance on a mountain, and you keep finding that you're going through the same valley, then there's a problem. Okay, that is definitely a bigger problem. So we want to make sure that we're continuing to level up each time. But I'm also going to just drop this real quick. If you're not even experiencing any peaks or valleys, if you're not experiencing the highs and lows, I would assume that honestly, you're just flat out not growing, and you're just have settled and you're content. And if that's good for you, if that works for you, in all honesty, this is probably not the podcast for you. So you can just take that with a grain of salt or whatever you want to take it with. But moving on, every time that we hit a peak, every time that we hit a peak, we will see a new peak that we want to reach. And some people might say that, well, that's not very healthy because you're never truly satisfied. And I will say that I disagree with that. I will say the thing that is not healthy is being so content that you refuse to grow, that you refuse to expand, that you refuse to keep increasing your value, that you can give more of yourself. As we continue to learn and grow and take on new challenges and reach new levels, we bring more to the world, and we bring positive impact. Every single invention is people coming up with new peaks and pushing the envelope and expanding and not just settling. Okay. So that is part of our DNA, to constantly expand, to constantly grow. But we need the right mindset for it so we don't beat ourselves up, right, while we're in these valleys. Okay. And that's why we need to expect the valley. And so when we hit this new peak, when you get that new job, when you learn that new skill, and it's getting you what you feel that you wanted at that time, right? A week will pass, a month will pass, a year will pass, and you realize that there's a new peak that you see that you want to get to. But to get to that new peak, you actually have to travel through a new valley to get to that. If you're thinking about a mountain range again, and you reach the top of that mountain peak, and you see that other peak that's a little bit higher than where you are now, you actually have to walk back down the mountain, at least some, and cross this valley, cross this gap to start walking up to the new peak. And that's what really life is about. For instance, my communication skills has helped me with a lot of things. It's helped me to be a leader inside the corporate world. It's helped me to perform, right, and speaking for some groups. Um, it's helped me to just stand out in many different ways. But there's a new peak that I have my eyes on. There's things that I want to achieve with my speaking. And so now I have to take a step back and not believe that my communication skills are good enough, but realize that there's things that I need to learn. So I need to go and study speaking more detailed. I need to study it on a deeper level. I need to practice more than I was before. Okay. So I have to go switch my mind and back into a learning state, into a beginner mind, step into that valley and say, you know what, I'm not that good at it. Okay. And learn these skills so that I can climb up and reach this new peak. I'm 40 now. I just turned 40 a few months ago. And honestly, it feels like it's getting a little bit harder to keep that same physique. So I have to level up my diet, right? I have to be more detailed on how I'm eating, what I'm eating. and shift my workouts. But also, too, my standards went up of how I want to look and how I want to feel, right? So I have to take myself back down, beat my body up a little bit, have more discipline, be uncomfortable so I can reach that new peak. Okay. Each valley will feel like it's lower than the last peak, right? You feel like you're going backwards. You have to take that humility. You have to humble yourself some because you feel like you're going backwards. You feel like you're going down when you work so hard to get to that last peak. But each valley should be higher than the last valley that you were in. And that is exactly how you know that you're making progress. You have to actually compare your new valley, right, to where you were before when you were in the valley and realize that, you know what, this is actually higher than where I was before. So you know that you're making progress and reaching a new peak. Because again, you don't want to get stuck in that same valley. And so you're not actually reaching new peaks. You're reaching the same peak over and over and over again and not making any progress in your life. And that's when it truly gets destructive. And that's when it truly gets depressing. Because it's like, I went through this problem last year, last month, last week. Why is nothing changing? Okay. And when we're in that place, the biggest thing that we have to realize is that the main thing that's not changing is our perspective on the situation. And when we shift our perspective on the situation, then we will shift what we're willing to do to step into that new peak or be able to actually see what it takes to reach that new peak. So be aware of that. But don't be disappointed or defeated because you stepped into a valley, a new place of challenge. Don't feel defeated or like you let yourself down because you feel like you had to take a step back so you could spring forward. Have the awareness to look back and be able to tell yourself, yes, I may feel like I'm going backwards a little bit, but I'm not as far back as I was last time. I'm not in as deep as a valley as I wasn't last time. So I'm actually making progress, and this is going to prepare me for even higher heights. And this is constantly happening in our minds, in our spirits, in our lives all the time in different areas, but mostly you'll see it in the areas that are important to you. And sometimes we don't choose to go in these valleys. Sometimes you're forced in these valleys by circumstances. And this is, to me, this is life telling you that it's time to level up. This is life telling you that, hey, you've been at that peak for a while. It's time to move forward. You look at nature, nature is always growing. You can't stay stagnant forever. So sometimes you're forced into these valleys, but see it as an opportunity to reach a new level, to reach a new peak, to grow, to become more. All right. So as I wrap up today's episode, this is what I want you to do. I want you to block out like an hour of time to be alone with a pen, some paper. Okay. And then I want you to pick an area of your life where you want to see growth. Any area where you feel that you're trying to improve, or maybe you haven't been trying, but you would like to improve in. And I want you to reflect. Spend this time reflecting and just try to find the last two peaks in this area of your life. And also find the last two valleys in this area of your life. Next, I want you to figure out, where are you now? Are you in a valley right now as we speak? Or maybe did you just hit a peak? Maybe you just overcame this huge obstacle. You're at a new level. You know, you put in the work. You just reached a peak that you thought that you know, may not have reached, but you overcame and you reached that peak. Are you at that place? Either way, no matter what your answer was to that, right? I want you to actually think about what is the next peak? What does the next peak look like for you? And then write down, what do you think that you have to do or learn? What do you have to shift to move towards this new peak? And the last part of all this, I know this seems like a lot of homework, but this for you, it's not for me. It's just to help you. The last part is write down an action that you're going to take today to move forward on it. Write down one action that you're going to take to move forward towards that new peak that you see, that you want, that you desire. And that's it. So I would love to hear what you find. I would love to hear what you think of. I would love to hear if you did the exercise at all. And you can leave me a voice message through Spotify, or you can just hit me up on Instagram, Naphtali D. Anderson. I'll also put the tag in the description. So until next time, this is Naphtali signing off, and be blessed, my people.